Now, more stories, insights, and analysis of Illinois policy and politics. This is Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Opportunity Project. Once again, your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan back with Ted on this edition of Rising. And Ted, here we go again. We mentioned it earlier in the show. The issue of teachers, teacher compensation, and benefits in the context of school performance and school finances and local taxpayers' ability to underwrite it. Geneva School District 304 teachers went on strike this week. The median teacher at District 304 has a $120,000 compensation package, about $70,000 in salary, and then your taxpayer-funded benefits and pension contributions, which are about another $50,000. The initial offer or demand by the teachers union, salary increases of 18% for over the next 3 years, and taxpayers pick up 100% of the health care benefit costs for single teachers. It's currently 95%, and 75% of the cost for teachers with families, currently 65%. This is in a school district where 2/3 of the kids are at grade level, meaning 1/3 are not, and it's been static for 20 years. Meanwhile, while the district's enrollment has increased by 48% during that time, 20 years, the funding for the school has gone up 70%. So it's gone up 40% faster than enrollment for the same outcomes as 20 years ago. The thing that's different because of the increased funding they're getting is the property tax bill for homeowners in District 304, which is now the median property tax bill of $9,000, 2.57% of median home value in Geneva School District 304, which is about 2.5 times the national average. And so property taxes going up, home values going down, and teachers' salaries and benefit packages continuing to escalate at a 45-degree angle. But again, if you're not on board, either your numbers are wrong, which we got a lot of when we started talking about this story this week, until we told them, okay, we'll bring it up at the Illinois State Board of Education because that's where we got our numbers. I guess they're not reliable. Okay, fine. Then give me your numbers. How about? And then secondly, why do you hate teachers? Let me tell you what my husband or wife deserves. The one thing I will give the kind of teachers union side on this, we had a husband of one of the teachers say Geneva 304 has a $23 million surplus in revenue. It's in reserves, $23 million in reserves. And he said, well, what, it's just sitting there. I said, I completely agree with you. There's no reason for local units of government to have reserves like that. They should immediately return that $23 million to taxpayers who would put it to higher best use. And then if the school district says we need more money to operate our schools, then they can go back to property taxpayers and ask.
Make their case.
Yes. Yes. But this is, you're up on the North Shore. You know what this mentality is that you run into, and it doesn't matter where it is. You get the same response, the same stonewalling. And also, it's interesting, the same effort to obfuscate the actual numbers. So after people recoiled to what the teachers union was demanding, saying, well, I'm not getting 6% raises guaranteed over 3 years, and I'm picking up 100% of your health care plus 100% of mine, and all this. Well, then they went dark. So nobody knows at present what the spread is between the two sides, because they won't talk about, the teachers union side won't tell you what their position is. So you don't know how far they are apart or what exactly the nature of the impasse is, because they don't want to litigate their position in public.
They do not want this to be talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you see all the time. And then they just want to sort of mau people with the, we're teachers, you're trusting your kids to us, therefore whatever we demand is what we should receive.
Well, I want to make 2 points about all this. Number one is what we're describing in Geneva happens in every single city in Illinois. right? And so the same thing, property values are down, taxes are up. It's the story everywhere. There's maybe 3 or 4 exceptions in the state. And the fact that you've got this compensation. Now, there are some downstate districts that don't have the kind of salary increases that all these other places get. And I grant them that. There's a few that I think deserve protection. But for the most part, it's the same story you just mentioned. And what's behind all this, and again, it's another issue that nobody wants to discuss, is the collective bargaining agreements. The power that the teachers' unions have in Illinois because of the collective bargaining laws means they can be as tough as they want to be, and they can withstand any pressure from our side, the reform side, because they've got the laws behind them. And by that I mean Illinois is the only state that allows its teachers to strike. When you look at Indiana, Wisconsin, right? So they can go on strikes. They can say, I don't care what you want to do, right? It's the same thing with police and fire, not strikes, but forced arbitration. So they have this power to have these contracts that give them guaranteed raises, where the private sector, is just hoping to get a raise, maybe fighting to get a raise, fighting to keep their job. And that's the disconnect. And I don't begrudge anybody for fighting for more stuff, but why do they get guaranteed contracts with guaranteed raises, 100% coverage of insurance and stuff like that, when the ordinary Illinoisan isn't one guarantee that or even gets it?
And you're essentially extorting your families because you're saying, we'll go out on strike, we'll take a walk, and then you figure out how to deal with the fact that Sally and Johnny aren't in school because the teachers are on strike, and we'll wait you out because we're going to inconvenience your life as long as we need to until you capitulate and say, okay, I'm in for another half a yard a year in property taxes, which translates into the loss of another 10, 20, 50 grand as it starts to multiply in my home value because I got to deal with the reality on the ground in the immediacy, so I'm going to take the hammering.
I spent a year in Waukegan doing a lot of school choice work, and they struck for a whole month. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about a low income community, and most of the teachers don't live in Waukegan; they live outside Waukegan. So they put their community school in strike, and then they went back to their homes where their kids were going to school. Fascinating story. And again, it's the same thing. They have this power to do that. Just not fair.